password to Batchleads. And Batchleads can also generate data. Like you can give it search criteria and geography and stuff and all the different motivators. It's pretty much prop stream. It also has a dialer. So the address you gave, 1353 Christian Street, Philly, looks like a Dunkin' Donuts. Let me see why that is. That's weird. Now, so okay, so it's, okay, so it has it. All right, so the first thing I do with any property is I always Google it. And part of our process, which I'll get more into tomorrow, is we have a form with lots of questions. But one of the reasons we first Google it is that, is it an apartment or is it a house? But one of the first reasons we always Google every address is, first of all, to make sure we're looking at the right one, that there isn't something wrong with the address we have. But the other reason is, if you look here, this source says active. If it's active with a realtor, we've got little or nothing we can do with it. Okay, so now it's off market. So we're now fairly sure. What's a little weird, and this happens, is that 3 different sources come up with 3 different pictures, but that's clearly a Dunkin' Donuts over there. At least fairly clearly to me, that's kind of their look. So it's probably this. Is probably what it is. In any case, assuming this description matches, a 5-bed, 2,000 square foot, we see it sold in 2009 for $210,000, meaning absolutely freaking nothing, really, because in almost 20 years, who the hell knows? So the only thing that's wrong here is the pictures. 5-bed, 1 bath. It's just the picture's not quite right. It looks like our house is sort of behind that. So you can do a lot of stuff here. You can get tax information. You can get sale and loan information, when it was last sold, what the mortgages are, and so forth. You get a lot of good data here. But really, comparables are what you're mostly coming here for. We don't care, almost never care, about active or pending. And here's why. First of all, active is, it's already being, that's active is what someone's asking for the property, a realtor, so they're asking top dollar. Pending, when I place a property pending in any MLS I'm aware of, it freezes the number at the asking price. It doesn't freeze it at the contract price. Logic being, until you close on a property, there might be negotiations. I've got one right now. They offered me $190,000, and we went under contract at 190, and they came back and said, well, this, and this, we want 180 because we found some things on inspection. We just want 10 grand of SSR, whatever. Fine. So pending and active don't help us find out what it will sell for. You prefer less 6 months. You prefer, you can set bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage, yes. 1 mile, yeah, but in a city, a half mile, much tighter if you go in a city. And then, so 6 months, half mile is what you're targeting pretty much everywhere. Then you hit the filter button. And so down here now, it's saying, hey, these are, and there are several pages of them. So then you kind of look and you say, all right, I can sort by bedrooms. I can sort by bathrooms. My favorite sort is always, okay, we actually lucked out. We got a lot of bedrooms very close to the property. And with our circle only being a half mile, that's good too. So this one sold for $444. That one sold for $640. Are you seeing all this? All right. So like that, then you start looking and you're comparing if you have pictures of his house or he's described his house to you. You then go in the pictures here and you're saying, all right. Now, the first thing I'm seeing is 210, 315, 640, 500, 575, a million, 880. All right, so we're all over the road in the neighborhood, but we have a lot of high value numbers. So if his house looks like this, 600,000 is completely doable. So we're now learning what 600,000 sold for. Somebody else bought it for this. Now we're going to go and look at the other end of the spectrum. I thought there was like a 200. Okay, so it's 300. All right, well, I'm going to guess it's that one. It's very hard with row houses to tell which one you're talking about. By the way, when you're taking pictures, if you're doing something like a row house, do half of this house, half of that house, and make sure your house is the only full one in the shot. Because I don't know if they're talking about this one or they're talking about this one. And this one only has one picture, so it's pretty lousy. But a 6-bedroom for $300,000 in this neighborhood, I gotta believe, is probably going to be not worth much. Here's 19 pictures of $300,000. Nice, just outdated. And as you can probably tell, I call this an estate home. Now this is fun. I do this myself when I have a clawfoot tub because they're a pain in the ass to pull out. You build a box around it and you totally waterproof the box. It's just sometimes easier than than redoing the bathroom. All right, so $300,000 in his neighborhood is a fixer-upper. Totally fine. Not an unhappy home. 600, 600, and that's a 340 is 5 to 1827. So pretty comparable in a fixer-upper world. Then you look at one of these other ones. Okay, that was the done one we already looked at. Fine. You look at another 5'3", 1,900 square feet, 575. Again, done. Actually looks phenomenally like the last one. So then what you can do, whether you do or not, is you can select a bunch of them. And you can select all the thumbs up, whatever. And then you can download a comps to Excel. You can download, you can email them, you can export them, you can download PDFs or whatever. So then you'll have this information and you can go through all the pages because this, whatever. And you can even refine your other criteria. Now it's giving you an average value. I just like the Zestimate. People tell me, well, my house has the Zestimate of $4 million. I don't give a crap what the Zestimate is. Because all Zillow is doing, and probably all this AI is doing, is 845 plus, let's go back to the first page, 318 plus 440 plus 640 plus 340 plus a million divided by whatever is that. It's probably not really like studying and saying what's comparable. So, is he right at 6? Probably not. But, his would have to be phenomenally perfect. Is he right at 5? This is what $500,000 bought somebody. And so you're really looking at his descriptions and his pictures. Now, in the listing universe, we're okay. So in a wholesale world, we only have 4 weeks to sell something. So we're going to push to a number that we know we can move in 4 weeks, meaning a discount investor number. In the listing world, if they want retail, great. We're going to I don't take listings less than 6 months, and I typically take residential listings in a year. So they can't leave us for 6 months to a year. Um, and so if they want to start aggressive, if we, we give them the benefit of our experience and our advice, but we, if I say, hey, your house is worth 600,000, 500,000, he says, no, I insist on 600,000. Okay. I have turned deals down. My first broker, I turned a deal down on Main Street, on a very busy street in Scranton. And I went back and I told him the story. I said, this guy was freaking nuts. He wanted 4 times the amount. My broker was like, you're an idiot. I said, why? I said, I told him it wouldn't sell. He's like, you did your job. You told him it wouldn't sell at that price. He's like, if he insists on selling it, someone is putting a sign on that building. Someone is having their sign on that building for a year. It might as well be you. He's like, you've done your job by advising them and whatever. But if they want to go against your advice, now if they want to do, I had a guy who had a house that was probably legitimately worth nearly $1 million, but not quite. He's like, I want $1 million. I'm going to give you a 30-day listing at 1%. And I went out there and I met with him and politely, at the end of it, I said, no. He's like, why? I said, the amount of work necessary to properly market this house to only have 30 days and only make 1% is not going to happen. I'll give you 2% on $1 million. I won't give you 1, but I'm going to give you no less than 6 months because it's not worth me bringing a drone out here and da-da-da-da. I mean, it's $1 million home. It's a gorgeous freaking estate. So anyway, so basically that's how you comp it here. The other thing we do is I don't care about this estimate. I really don't, especially when Zillow thinks it's an apartment. I click behind it and I look at what's sold near it, and I do look at, I'll draw the same circle in Zillow, remove boundary, make recenter, whatever. I'll make sure I'm only looking at things that are within my radius, and you can do parking spots, minimum garage, whatever. And then, especially in cities, I'll go somewhere like stopcrime.com and I'll look up the crime numbers. Now, I'm pretty sure a $500,000 row home, we're not in a high crime neighborhood, but that being said, I'm not in the business of pretty sure. I'm in the business of being right. So that's pretty much how you do a comp. So like I said, so do I think he's going to sell it at 600? I'd have to see his pictures, but possibly, definitely possible. Am I willing to take the listing at 6? Yeah, definitely. The other thing to have a conversation with them if they go forward with the listing, and you have this conversation up front as part of your sales pitch. You ask them, hey, okay, so capital gains, it all depends how it's titled, but in a single family residence, if it's been their primary residence, you there? I heard something going on. Yeah. Any questions?
So can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you before.
Oh yeah. So far, that's it. So far, I would advise him to probably go slightly under his asking if it's too much, because I've been doing a little bit of training. If we price it right to sell, then we don't have to change it later. So
yep,
that's something I would do. But
definitely.
This is the comp for it as well. I'm trying to see.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to show you now the login thing, and you always want to advise them what you think. And here's the other thing we have to be very honest about right now. This is not a seller's market. This is kind of a balanced market, but I would say it's much more, but becoming very quickly becoming a buyer's market. And yes, I realize Philadelphia high-end properties are slightly different, but one of the ways you can make money with us is with this DSCR lending and stuff. And the guy who's my guru in that, I'm on his podcast every Sunday morning. I'm one of his typical guest hosts or whatever he calls them. And I mean, there's a lot of us. Don't be like I'm not like one of 3. I'm like one of 10. and I'm probably, I'm probably one of the more experienced, but I'm the least interesting of them. But the
Mhm.
point is, Joe Scarice is a national private lender. His grandfather started his real estate investing business that him and his brother now run, like the ownership of a shitload of things in the Philadelphia area. Um, and Joe lends to investors nationwide, flippers, fixers, renters, whatever. And he's like, look, right now is not the time for flipping. Right now is not, you know, if you're an investor, think rentals, which means, and this is why it is, nationwide, we have the largest inventory we've had in 15 years of things for sale. We have the longest on market times in at least since before COVID. I mean, like since like 2016. And there's some other statistic that is the largest in 30 years. Like, I don't know if it's the most properties available or whatever, but
Mhm.
really it's not the scarcity mindset of, oh, I need to, I as a buyer need to overpay in order to get this property. Bleep, no, it's the opposite. So you just want to say to your seller, listen, are you willing to sit around and wait on this $500,000 property to get 600,000? I would rather, and this is a speech I give everybody every time. I would rather list you at 450,000 and let the market beat us up to 600. And I realize that's a huge chunk down. I wouldn't necessarily push it there, but
Mhm.
I'd rather list you at 550, 575 and get the phone ringing
Yeah.
than list you at 600 and everyone's like, that ain't going to happen. Um, yeah. So any other thoughts or questions or anything?
No, that's it so far. What's the process of me getting into the brokerage? 'Cause, so
You mean,
far.
well, so I'm signing up now for the Philadelphia MLS for the Bright MLS.
Mhm.
So you're in the brokerage. You're a part of us now.
Mhm.
One thing you didn't do. Okay, sorry. Let me back up. You need to inform the state that we're your broker.
Okay.
You need to go in. Okay, yeah, because we did all this late at night and I forgot. You need to go into the PALS PA licensing system, which is the thing where your license is kept by the state,
Yeah.
and change your broker to us, basically.
Mhm.
You're allowed to be. So I'm actually so yeah. So let me run you through some of the basic orientation. So you got to go into the state. You have 10 days. You can conduct business for up to 10 days before you do that. I don't know why you'd wait. I mean, we waited. What I'm saying is we waited a couple days. No big deal. The law doesn't care. But you want to shove your crap over. Um, when you do that and they approve and they tell you, hey, we're contacting the broker, just text me. So I log in because for some reason when they send me a message, I never get, like, it doesn't show up on my phone.
Mhm.
So, like, hey Steve, I just finished the stuff with pals, then I'll log in and approve you when you're done. Then
Yeah.
they'll send your license to me. They will very immediately. Okay, so now before we do that, do you have any open transactions with EXP?
No.
Okay.
Mm.
Because EXP will. Do you have any open listings? Any open anythings?
No. No.
Okay, all right, that's fine then. Yeah, if you did, we would play a slightly different game in terms of we would strategically look at EXP's contractor agreement as to, because they let you take listings, they don't let you. There's something else about, basically you don't have any. Doesn't matter. So you go to pals, you tell them, hey, I'm the Steve. Boom, your stuff comes over. Send me a picture for your business card. I'll get the first set of business cards printed for you. And I'll get you logins to our. I'll get you an email address. Your name at guerrillarealestate.net. And I'll get you a login to the CRM, which we are just moving into. We are totally fresh with it.
Mhm.
Our new tool does or will do by January everything, meaning all of the CRM crap of keeping your leads and keeping your listings. It'll do all the calculation crap of. It'll help you calculate values and help you calculate rehab estimates and so forth. It will write your off-market contracts and so forth, your listing contracts. It will have them in there. Where I'm hesitating is I don't want to. I'm recommending people might consider, if you're using a zip forms or something, you might still use that. I just want to make sure we have the latest version of the contracts, but the contracts really don't matter because our net listing agreement that we use for wholesale gives you the right to list the property as well.
Mhm.
Pretty much within our CRM does everything, and there's lots of other stuff it does too. It does AI dialing, outbound and inbound receptionist, yada yada yada, whatever. So I'll get you a login to that probably on Friday. I have to get my developer to put you in the system. Um, and then tomorrow we'll go through the orientation live of how to file documents and so forth. And this one is critical. Actually, this one kind of makes me say I am going to do all the contracts in the CRM, because I have got a guy who's been with me 6 months, and I did not notice that he wasn't uploading his documents into the system. And now I have no documents for anything he's done in the last 6 months. He has to give them all to me.
Okay.
So in order to avoid that, because I'm supposed to have them all, my bad. I thought he was doing it and just wasn't watching. I'm going to make the CRM do it all. So yeah, so I mean that, so basically the only thing you have to take action point on now is PALs and getting me a picture for your business card.
Okay.
Now, if you have a company brand or an actual entity, it can't just be I like to call myself. You can use that, but you have to fill out when you're in PALs, and I don't know if they have a link for it. You might have to call them. You can set up your LLC as a qualified association, which is a fancy way of saying the state lets you use your LLC name on legal documents.
Yeah.
And it allows me to pay your LLC. And truthfully, if you have one, you'll save some on taxes by using an LLC. But if you don't have one, like most of my agents don't, they're just them.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So like that's just if you were like, hey, I want to keep my brand. Like if you've been trading under, your investments at whatever company, you can do that on a marketing standpoint. But when it comes to actual legal documents, you're however the state has you licensed. Which is the other weird thing is once you get moved over to me, don't confuse the state, because they're wonderful people down there. Actually, are good people down there. They're actually a good department, but they're very easily confused. So get your license moved over to me, and then if you have, like, my license says Stephen Franco, I actually had to send them a separate letter to technically allow me to use Steve. And we'll cover more of it tomorrow. But the other thing you're going to want is on all of your social media, especially any of your marketing, has to have. Back to the branding thing. If you've got a business card design, I can work my logo into it so that it's legal. We can do that. Otherwise, I'll give you a gorilla card. But the same thing on every media, every advertising channel, which the state doesn't like. Technically, your voicemail, like your personal home voicemail, is an advertising channel. I don't do that. Screw that. That's not happening. But like on my Facebook, it's Steve Franco, my phone number, and Gorilla Real Estate, the exact same freaking phone number. And the rule there is that your information can't be larger than my information.
Yeah.
So like, if you're using 12 point, then I'm in 12 point. If you're bold and underlined, the word the state uses is equally prominent, which is a stupidly vague term. I actually had a debate when I was at EXP. I did a card design, and one of the brokers didn't like it. He's like, we're not equally prominent. I said, look, 12 point, 12 point. He said, I don't feel we're equally prominent. I need to be more prominent. And he wasn't trying to, he's like, look, I'm not trying to be a jerk. He's like, I know, I've been to the state on these exact arguments. It's like,
EXP had me do that with them, so it's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And they are right. They are rightfully so type A and really, really annoying. I understand why. They're a publicly traded company, but I'm much more laid back. If it looks like you made a reasonable attempt to make us equally prominent, I ain't gonna argue. Technically, any advertising stuff you do, I'm supposed to look at first.
Yeah.
Make sure it fits that. The equal housing logo, the little funny equal sign with the house. Yeah. That's got to be on everything. All those kinds of standards. So we'll cover everything else tomorrow because I know you got to go to work. But basically, yeah. I mean, try to advise him lower, and just tell him, look, the lower you go, the more calls you get. You don't have to accept the offer. That's the other thing to just remind him, or anybody, is they look in the wholesale world. Okay, so our net listing agreement says anything above this price, he has to accept, and we get the difference. His listing agreement will say, here's my price and here's my commission. And so you tell him, listen, With the net listing agreement, I can kind of force them to sell if they put 100,000 on the net listing and I get 101. I can say, well, we accomplished the goal here. Can't force them to sell, but I can force them to pay me. With a regular commission listing agreement, he is in complete control. If he doesn't choose, and this is a little more than a little annoying, with the regular listing agreement, if he says $500,000 and you bring him 6, he doesn't have to say yes. So, which they don't, of course, they're not going to be that stupid. However, in that case, we still earn our commission.
Yeah.
If you bring them what's on the listing agreement and they say, not doing it, we brought you the offer you asked for. We get paid. Hopefully we don't end up in that dirty pool. But basically, you just explain to them, say, listen, you're better off offering, listing 550 and holding out for a 6 than you are listing for 6 and getting no calls.
Yeah.
And you can also ask him questions like, hey, how long can you really afford to hold this house? Assuming it's empty or whatever. Like how long can you, what are you into? I don't like to do listing agreements under 6 months. This is you. And here's the thing. Remember, you are an independent contractor. Mm-hmm. Within our guidance, you can say yes or no. Now, if you say, hey, I want to take something for 0.5%, I'm going to say, well, that's great, but my minimum is still this. If my minimum exceeds your 0.5%, you're upside down. So you always want to check with me if you're changing stuff. But for me, it's no less than 6 months if it's a listing. And we include the photography and stuff. Now, we aren't going to be doing the gorgeous kind of photography. Like, we're not hiring professionals. You're going in and doing it. If he wants to, you decide whether you want to hire pros. At a higher end like this, it might be worth paying the photographer a couple $100 or telling him, hey, this is what I shoot if you want to hire somebody, whatever. The last thing that I wanted to cover, and then I promise I'll let you go because my daughter's about to come out of her doctor, is capital gains. So in a residential, this is my home situation, single owner, non-married, filing separately, filing you're single, can write off $250,000 in capital gains. A couple married, filing jointly, can write off $500,000. So he bought it for $2 and he's selling for $6. If it's only him, he might be facing some capital gains, and you want to have a capital gains conversation with him, or at least introduce the topic. And if he wants to have one, I'll swing in and do all that. Mm-hmm. If it's him and the wife or him and the whatever, then they're probably good because 2 to 4 or 2 to 6 is only 4, not 5, not over 5. And you're always, these things you're not telling them. You're saying, hey, roughly the capital gains line is this. Check with your tax advisor. There are ways to play tax games. There are ways that we can suggest. I can lead them to water and then tell them to go hire a professional. So all you're saying on capital gains is, if at all, and you may not need to say, listen, if you're alone, you might be hitting capital gains with this. Mm-hmm. And say, I'm a realtor, I'm not an advisor, just FYI, think about that. No, I wouldn't bring that up to them necessarily until after the listing agreement's signed, because I don't want to scare them away and send them back in. Because once they start going away and thinking, they almost never come back. But just be aware of that. So, all right. So, any questions before I let you go? So you're going to go grab her.
That's it so far. I'll stay in touch.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow at 11:30.
All right, sure.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man. Sounds good. Yeah, and message me as soon as you get the PALS thing done, and that can be done 24/7. That's all online.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
All right. See you.
All right.